The 2000s were a wild time for movie tie-in games. You had movies like Harry Potter, Star Wars, King Kong, Spider-Man, B-Movie. Almost every movie made one at a game tie-in, and some of these games were extremely good. Most of these games were not. Out of all the good ones though, one stood out among the rest. It became an instant classic and was regarded as not just a good movie tie-in game, but a good game. And that's right, Spider-Man 2 was a hit. It gave us free roam as we swing around New York City and fight a huge catalog of bad guys that... What? We're not doing Spider-Man 2? Oh, we're doing Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay. I've always wanted to talk about the Fellowship of the Ring. What do you mean not that one? That's the best one. What other one could we be talking about? Lord of the Rings Return of the King is not just a great movie tie-in game. It's one of the greatest games, period, for its time. It's a simple game for simple people like me, and it's still fun to play almost 20 years later. It's one of my all-time favorite games from my childhood, and I feel sorry for all those loser Harry Potter fans who didn't get an okay game at best until this year, while us Lord of the Rings fans have been feasting for over a decade. And that brings us here. Me telling you why I like something and why you should do what I say. So grab a pint, light your pipe, and eat some mushrooms, because here is why you should play Lord of the Rings Return of the King.
Return to your master, creatures of shadow.
Return of the King is a level-based action game that can be completed in less time than it takes to watch the movie that it's based on. The core of the game is this. Choose from 3 different campaign paths where you will play as Sam, Gandalf, Aragorn, and the other 2. You will fight through hordes of orcs, ghosts, and Uruk-hai trying to land as many combos as possible to rack up kill points to spend at the end of each level on weapon upgrades, armor, and new combos. The combo attacks are extremely satisfying. They work the same as combos in a fighter game like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. Hit the buttons quickly in a specific order and you will land a big attack, and this will help fill up your combo meter. And if you fill up the combo meter all the way, you go into perfect mode and one-shot everything, and then you get the biggest of dickest kill points. The upgrades you spend these points on can be used on an individual character, or for a bit more, you can use them on the entire party. It is a very wrinkle-brain move to choose the whole party, by the way.
Yeah, boy.
So, if you like short level-based games with tons of unlockables that trigger that sweet, sweet dopamine hit, then this game's for you. There isn't a lot more to say about the gameplay because it's basically just button-mashing fun. Like I mentioned before, there are 3 paths to choose from when it comes to the story. The path of the wizard, the path of the hobbits, and the path of the king. So just to make it easier, we will go down these paths in no particular order, because I love them all, while hating something about each as well. So let's start here. First up, we have Ganondorf, whose path is made of mostly defending Minas Tirith from being overrun by orcs, with a couple of levels where apparently he ran from Helm's Deep to Isengard and helped the Ents beat Saruman. Did EA even watch these movies? Gandalf's levels go from pretty easy to testicular vice hard. I mean, running through the forest isn't that bad, even though the fucking trees apparently don't know the difference between orcs and a wizard. But the real challenge is on the walls of Minas Tirith. The goal is to keep the ladders knocked down and kill enough orcs to keep this little meter down. But what really makes it tough is when the AI decides standing in your path is priority number 1. And then in the final level, you get to deal with this. These guys can just decide to stun lock you into oblivion, and then you get to do it all over again. And this is why I love it, and you will too. Solid campaign, 7 out of 10 for the Wizard. The next path is following Rudy as he carries a miniature drug addict on his back along with the rest of the trilogy. Sam is the best character, come on. His path takes us through 3 levels of fighting through orcs, spiders, and mommy milkers. Except with more legs and less milk. These levels are more linear point A to point B style compared to Gandalf's base defense style levels, but that doesn't make it boring. The levels are well designed and resemble their movie counterparts pretty close. Osgiliath is basically one big hide-and-seek game with the Nazgul. Shelob's lair can feel like a maze sometimes, littered with orcs and spiders. And Cirith Ungol is my favorite of the 3 due to its interactables in the levels, number of enemies to try out your combos on, and no spiders. A couple fun boss fights are thrown in here as well, most notably Shelob. She's a pretty fun fight, especially when she decides your ass needs tenderizing without consent. The other 2 bosses are not that good. I mean, I spam killed this guy with spears, and Gollum is just kind of shit. So, yeah. Good levels. And fuck off bosses. And for that, 9 out of 10 sounds good.
Yes!
And then you play as Aragorn and the side characters. And yes, I know it's Aragorn. That's part of the joke. Ba-dum-ts.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So these levels go like this. Easy fun, the most excruciating cock and ball torture, and then tough but fun. This is the path I enjoy the least, mostly because the first 2 they're okay. The boss fight is good, but not as fun as the Hobbit's bosses, and the Path of the Dead is very boring.
The spirits of the dead.
But then it gets really good. On the way to the Pelennor Fields, you get this little pit stop, and it's actually just fun. You can kill as many orcs as you desire, along with a little cave troll action, and then you move on. But what you move on to is one of the most bullshit fucking levels I've ever seen. Now, I am trying to convince you to play this game, but if you got here and just said, okay, that's enough, I wouldn't blame you, because that's what I do most every time I play this game. Crossing the battlefield in time to destroy the elephants, or whatever Tolkien called them, they make it ridiculous because either you fight too much getting across the field and run out of time, or you forgot to buy the rise attack and now you just keep getting your shit pushed in. Do yourself a favor and buy the rising attack. The last level in this path is pretty good. Its first segment has you fighting the Mouth of Sauron, which, unless you are a cultured ape like myself, you wouldn't know who that is because you think the extended editions are too long. Then you have a segment where you defend against waves of enemies. But the twist is you have to stand next to the homies to heal them while also taking on these armored orcs. Then you cap it all off by fighting 3 Nazgul. Personally, I would have saved the Mouth of Sauron for the end, but then again, I'm not a game designer. Or a high school graduate. 8 out of 10, minus 2 points for these idiots being useless. Remember when games used to have cool and fun unlockables and extra content? Well, this has some of that. You got a few unlockable characters, a few extra game modes, and a few behind the scenes clips. One character that you can unlock is Faramir, who is a reskin of Aragorn, and who we wish was Boromir. Merry and Pippin, who are reskins of Sam, and we wish were Bilbo and Tom Bombadil.
Oh, Tom Bombadil, oh, by water, wood, and hill, by the reed and willow, by fire, sun, and moon. Hearken now and hear us,
I'll also throw Frodo in here since he isn't usable until the very end game fight. It's also good to note that once you have beaten the game, you can play any character, including these, on any level. So if you ever wanted to see Legolas and Frodo interact more than one time in the whole fucking trilogy, you can now take them both on a total bro trip to Isengard. The Palantir challenge is Horde mode. It's simple enough until your screen looks like this.
Fire!
This isn't really my thing, but it's great to have an extra mode after beating the game. The behind the scenes extras are interviews with the cast members of the film, Frodo playing the game, and some concept art. It's a nice little extra that gives you something to do when you were trying to cool down from your 50th reset at Pelennor Fields. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, it seems like it's not a lot, but that's because it isn't. You can probably beat this whole game in 3 to 4 hours. But it's a lot of fun in those 3 to 4 hours, and getting to use any character on your favorite level makes you just come back and play it like an old school arcade game.
Oh shit, here we go again.
It has co-op too if that's your thing, so grab your buddy and play your hearts out, and for the low price of free, or just dust off your PS2 or GameCube and find one of those old gaming stores and buy it for like $10. This isn't one of those rare find games, this shit's everywhere. So thanks for watching, and now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play Spider-Man 2. Oh yeah, this is way better than Pelennor Fields.